What is going on, you guys? My name is Cornchip, and today I will be making a Fall Guys tier list for all the levels in Fall Guys. Now, I'm going to be making this tier list based on what I find is most entertaining. I'm not going to account in, at least I'm going to try not to, account in like, you know, your chances of like winning or losing that level or anything like that. I want to try to keep it like as very little biased as possible, because I know a lot of people don't like the team games, for example, because you know, you feel like even if you're doing amazing, you know, your team might still make you lose. I'm not accounting in the losing. I just mean like, this is a tier list based on how fun playing a level is without the winning or losing in mind. So let's just go ahead and get into it. We're gonna start off with Block Party. This is one of the survival games where you're just trying to survive until the end and make sure you're not one of the ones eliminated. And also, let me just say, some of these are subject to change as I place them, because right now, I think I'll put Block Party in B, but maybe that'll change as I put other things on this list, I don't know. Also, I would say like S rank, A rank, and B rank are like games I consider good and fun. C tier is probably like a tier of I don't really hate the game, but I don't really like it either. And then D and F are just like, these games aren't fun, they're bad, and they should feel bad. Anyway, next up is Gate Crash. This is a standard racing one, and maybe people are gonna disagree with this, but I'm gonna put it in S tier. I feel like out of the starting races, like just like the general ones, I feel like Gate Crash is one of the skill-oriented ones rather than like RNG reliant. And some of you might say, yeah, there's RNG, the gates are going up and down, but it's not RNG. They have a pattern, and as long as you're like looking ahead, it's very easy to know which way you need to go. Next up is DoorDash. I feel like DoorDash is the complete opposite of Gate Crash in terms of, while Gate Crash is skill-based and not RNG-based, DoorDash is RNG-based and not skill-based. And some people probably find that entertaining, but for my personal entertainment tier list, I don't like RNG, mostly because I have really bad luck. So for now, I'll put it in C. I don't really like it that much when I see it, but I don't absolutely hate it either. I just feel like it's like way too reliant on luck of getting through the doors, and then even if you have the strategy of like, I'm just gonna follow people rather than trying to get the doors, you know, once someone breaks the door open, there's that big funnel of, you know, all of these jelly bean guys into the choke point of this doorway, and you might just get ragdolled and pushed out, and then you lose. It's just annoying. Next up is Egg Scramble, our first team game. This is 3 teams, and you're trying to collect all the eggs you can and put them in your scorekeeping area, but you can also go into other people's scorekeeping areas and take their eggs away. I think that's pretty fun, honestly. Again, not caring about the winning or the losing at the end. Just the gameplay. Yeah, I like Egg Scramble. We'll put it in B for now. You know, I personally like the strategy of going into someone else's scorekeeping area and just like chucking as many of their eggs out as possible, because you're not really concerned about winning in the game, you just don't want to lose. As far as team games, you just don't want to be the loser. Next up, Fall Ball. It's like Rocket League in Fall Guys, except not nearly as fast or intense. Again, basing off entertainment value. I personally really like Fall Ball. I'll put it in A tier. I know a lot of people are probably gonna disagree with that. I just think it's fun. Like, whether you're attacking or defending, I think either is a fun choice, honestly. I know in a lot of sports games, if you want to call it that, sometimes being like a defender is boring, but I think it's pretty satisfying if you're like playing a more defensive or even like the goalie role and you knock a ball out of the way and keep it from your goal. Like, it's pretty satisfying. And then also, it's just as satisfying if you're on the attack and you score a goal in the opponent's goal. Very satisfying. Fun game. Also, getting those headers when the ball spawns, just like nailing it into the other goal is pretty great too. Next up, we got Fall Mountain. This is the first final stage for my tier list. And this one is the race, where you gotta race to the top of the mountain, grab the crown. And I'm saying I'm trying to keep this unbiased, but as you guys will probably figure out by the end of the tier list, I have a bias towards racing, as in I just think they're very entertaining. I love the races. So Fall Mountain's pretty great. I'm not gonna put it in S tier though, because I don't like the RNG, if that's what you want to call it, of the crown. I don't like that the crown moves up and down, because nothing is more infuriating than making it to the end, being the first one to make it to the top, I mean, but you have to stand there and wait for the crown to like come back down so you can grab it. And nothing's more infuriating when you're the first one there, but you have to wait, and then someone else swoops in and gets the crown because you had to stand there and wait. So yeah, that part's infuriating. Like, and yes, I know I'm trying not to grade off of like win chance, lose chance, but that just kills the entertainment value for me, that part at the end, but it's still fun. Still a good final. It's an A. Alright, next up is Slime Climb, and I want to put an S tier, but like, that implies Gate Crash and Slime Climb are equal, which is definitely not true, so I think I gotta add a new row, which I don't know what that's gonna do to my recording, but you can still see everything. Alright, so this is gonna be, oh, thank you for not cooperating with me. 12 out of 10, best level. Yeah, and Slime Climb gets to go up there. It's just in a tier of its own. Slime Climb's like the only, I'd say the only race and survival hybrid, because it's the only race where you don't respawn if you die. You're out. If you fall, you're out. And it's just fun. It's like a straight up obstacle course while you're running away from this rising slime that's gonna kill you, and it's just a good time. Also, even though not trying to count winning and losing, it's pretty great if you qualify, because not a lot of people do, so then Slime Climb gets you that much closer to the final if you can get through it, which is great. Alright, next up we got Fruit Shoot. It's one of the races that you don't start at the beginning, but it's also not a final variant. You usually see it in like the 3rd or the 4th round, I'd say. It just involves a conveyor belt and avoiding fruit as you try to make it to the top. I think I'd put it in B, like it's kind of fun, low B. It's fun, the RNG aspect of like where the fruits are gonna go and stuff is kind of annoying. Most of the time, the hard part for me is just getting on the conveyor belt in the first place. I feel like a lot of the times I'll start out and just, try to jump on the conveyor belt and immediately get smacked by a fruit, or maybe another player. Sometimes other players would make me ragdoll, and then I just fall and respawn, and it's kind of annoying. But it's not bad. It's whatever. It's entertaining. It's in B. B is not bad. Next up, Hit Parade. Just another one of the starting races, and I feel like S is kind of generous for it, so I think I'll put it in A, and we'll put it under Fall Mountain. I mean, it's just a standard race, got obstacles to avoid, lots of obstacles to avoid. I'd say the only part that's really scary is the wrecking balls, because if they knock you to one of the sides and you have to run back around, you basically lost. So that's pretty annoying when that happens, but fun game. All right, next up we got our second final, Hexagon. This is like one of the more unique games in Fall Guys, I'd say. You're trying to survive as long as possible while the tiles you step on despawn, fade away, whatever. And there's just a lot of different strategies you can take. There's a lot of movement styles you can do. Well, maybe not a lot, but you can just like run across the tiles, or you could try to stall and jump slowly from tile to tile. And you can try and stay up as long as you want, or some people try to like drop as quickly as possible to get to like the lower levels and try to get as many tiles out of there as possible before other people start falling there. Just a lot of strategy, a lot of depth, a lot of fun. I gotta put it above Gate Crash, I'd say. I don't know, actually, I know this is super biased. I enjoy races a lot, so Gate Crash is still higher than Hexagon for me, but Hexagon is great, and it's an S tier. Don't at me. Next up we have Hoarders. It's a 3-team game where you're trying to have as many balls in your scorekeeping area as possible, but you're trying to hoard as many as possible. Winning or losing, not mattering. I'd still say, I'd put it in like C tier, maybe above DoorDash. I mean, one of the weird things about games with the balls is they all have like different weight to them, or at least it seems like it. Like the fall ball, soccer balls, for example, are pretty heavy, I'd say, and they don't move around as easily. Whereas Hoarders, I think those are like volleyballs or whatever, they seem to be pushed much easier. And so that inconsistency is kind of weird to me. Maybe that's just me. I guess it's not really a bad thing, but there's a lot of times in this game where I feel like I'm just standing around doing nothing. I personally like to play like more of a defense role where I'll stand at like the edge of my scorekeeping area, and if anyone starts trying to, knock a ball out, I'll go intercept them to try to keep it in. But I think it just lasts a little too long. I mean, it's mostly like the last 30 seconds that really matter, and it's whatever. It's C tier. That's meh. Next up, we got Hoopsy Daisy. This is another 3-team game, and your goal is to just jump through the hoops and get points, and if you're in last place, you'll lose. And I personally think it's pretty fun. I mean, I gotta put it above Egg Scramble. Let's put it, yeah, just right above Egg Scramble, because I definitely like it more than Egg Scramble, but I don't know if I like it as much as Block Party. It's got points against it for like, there's latency issues. I mean, that's something in a lot of the team games. I forgot to mention that in Egg Scramble, but there's latency issues with grabbing and like you know, on your screen you see yourself grabbing something, but on the server side or whatever, you're really not, because like someone else already did or something. So in Hoopsy Daisy, sometimes you'll jump through a hoop on your screen before someone else, but then it gives the point to the other person because apparently you weren't actually the first to do it, even though on your screen you definitely were. And that's, you know, that takes away from the entertainment value because it's kind of annoying when you think you score and you don't. Also, I think this is an issue with most of the team games, but I feel like it's too long. Like, I mean, they put 2 minutes on the clock, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it still seems to just take a long time, honestly. And there's a lot of times where I feel like I'm just standing around doing nothing, which isn't very entertaining. Because if you try to run to a hoop that's far away, you're not going to be the first. So you have to wait for ones to get somewhat close to you. So sometimes I'm just standing around waiting for the spawns. But it's B tier, it's still good, it's still fun. I just have some complaints, I guess. Next up is Jinxed. I'll be honest, I'm going to be very biased on this one, and it's F tier. It is a hard F. If it could be just all the way over here, I would do that, but it won't let me. I know I said I don't want to take winning and losing into an account, but if there were like individual stats you could view for your career time or whatever in Fall Guys, my win rate on Jinx would probably be like 1%. I never win this, which kills the entertainment value for me personally. And even then, I just don't really find it that fun. It's got the latency issue of grabbing because that's the main mechanic of the game, is you're trying to grab people and jinx them. But you know, sometimes the grabbing doesn't work the way you expect it to on your screen because of latency. And you know, you can either be uninfected and trying to run away from people, or be infected or jinxed or whatever and try to be grabbing people. And the latter one, you know, you're supposed to be trying not to get jinxed. So you're supposed to be running away. I don't find that entertaining. I don't think running away from other players is like an entertaining time, honestly. Again, maybe that's just me, but I don't really find that fun. But yeah, either way, I don't really win a lot on this, which I don't normally want to take into account in the tier list, but I hate Jinxed. It has to be an F for me. If anyone likes it, I'm sorry. You are free to disagree with my tier list. I really do not like Jinxed. All right, next up we have Jump Club. It's another survival like Block Party, where you're just trying not to fall off the platform even though there's spinning bars that could swat you off. It's actually a little hard for me to rate this one just because I barely play it. Like, I've played a lot of Fall Guys, but I hardly ever get Jump Guys as one of my games in the rounds. But I guess for the times I have played it, it just reminds me of Wipeout. It's a fun time. I guess we'll put it in B somewhere. Let me think. I think I could put it above Egg Scramble. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to rate because, like I said, I haven't seen it all that much, honestly. So it's in B tier. But what I have seen more of than Jump Club is Jump Showdown. This is another final level. At the time of recording this, it's the only level that's been released after the game's official release. Like, the game released and it had a bunch of games inside of it. Jump Showdown was added in like the first patch, and it's just a final variant of Jump Club. It's more difficult. Instead of 1 bar on the bottom, it has 2, and the platforms also disappear after a while. Or I mean, not just disappear, they leave, they despawn, whatever. It's telegraphed. This is starting to be the final I see the most, which I'm not really that big a fan of. Like, I like the game, but I mean, I hate how much it appears. Like, since that update, I've barely seen Royal Fumble, which isn't that bad of a thing. But I see Jump Showdown all the time, and that's kind of annoying. But other than that, I mean, it's challenging, it's a good final. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I think I could put it in A tier. I don't like it as much as Fall Mountain. I'll put it above Fall Ball. Yeah, that's a good spot for it. Jump Showdown's pretty fun. Next up, we got Perfect Match. This is kind of a survival game. The game classifies it as logic, or a logic game, and it's the only one of its kind. It's just a memory game. You gotta memorize where the fruits are, and then it'll tell you to stand on one, and you gotta go find it before time runs out. I mean, personally, I like memory games, but this is just kind of a weird one for Fall Guys, I'd say. It doesn't really fit with any of the other types of games, and it's too easy. It doesn't get a lot of people out because it's just a pretty simple memory game. And again, I enjoy memory games, but like, it just needs work. I don't really know what, but it needs something different. It's gonna go in D because I hate Jinx, so Jinx has to be an F like by itself basically. But yeah, D, Perfect Match. I personally don't really hate it that much, but it's still kind of boring. So it's in that tier on its own. Next we got Rock and Roll. It's another one of those 3-team games. You're trying to roll your ball down to the goal as quickly as possible before the other teams, and you don't want to be the last one, or you lose. I mean, like half the stage is just ramming your head into the ball, and then once you get to the bottom, you know, I'd say the typical play is try to block other teams, and that's probably more entertaining to me, is when you get to block the other teams. I mean, I don't think it's meh. I think it's pretty fun, so it's got to be at least B. I don't want to put it in A or S, though, so we're going to oversaturate the B tier and put it below Fruit Shoot. It can be the lowest B so far. That's fine. Next up is Rollout. It's another survival game like Block Party and Jump Club, I guess, where you're just having to stand on these rolling platforms as long as possible. I'd say this is probably the best survival game as far as entertainment, at least for me. Like, it's got to go higher than Block Party, so it's got to be an A tier, but I think I could put it above Fall Ball. Yeah, I like that. Better than Fall Ball, not as good as Jump Showdown. Next on the list, we got Dizzy Heights. This is one of the standard racing ones. It's basically like Hit Parade. Well, I mean, the levels aren't similar, but in terms of a race, it's a lot like Hit Parade. I think I like it more than Hit Parade, so I think I'll just put it right there. I don't know if do I like Fall Mountain more than these other races? I think Hit Parade might be one of my least favorite in terms of the starting ones. Maybe we'll do that. So Dizzy Heights, Fall Mountain, Hit Parade. Sure. Okay, we got our last final, at least as of me recording this, because I'm sure they'll add more stages in the future. Royal Fumble. This is, I feel like it's pretty hated, at least from what I've seen online. It's a tail grabbing one. You gotta be the last one with the tail and you win. The latency issues really kill the entertainment value of this. It's pretty annoying when you get grabbed by someone that on your screen is like a mile away from you. And meanwhile, you can grab someone and actually get like the grab hit markers and it still doesn't give you the tail. That's really frustrating. For me, it's not as bad as Jinxed though, because I hate Jinxed, so I gotta put this in D tier. And it'll be below Perfect Match. It's not the best, I'll say that much. Next up we got Seesaw. I feel like this is a pretty controversial one. I feel like there are a lot of memes about this stage, like the most, because lots of people like to blame the other players for tipping seesaws and stuff and not knowing how seesaws work. So people probably won't agree with my rating, but I don't have an issue with Seesaw. Like, as long as you make sure your character isn't ragdolling, it's not hard to stay on the seesaws and get to the end. And then I think only like the last 2 checkpoints have seesaws that can actually like tip far enough to just make standing on it completely impossible. So I would put it in A tier where the other races are, but maybe like below Rollout. And the only reason I say that, I don't have a problem with Seesaw, but compared to like the other races, there's variation with the obstacles in those. Like you have different sections between checkpoints where there's a different obstacle. Seesaw's literally all the same. Like checkpoint after checkpoint, it's just more seesaws, which that's kind of boring, honestly. Like, yes, the level's called Seesaw, but I feel like you could maybe switch it up somehow. Maybe put like layers of seesaws, like have some going up and going down. Maybe tip some of them different ways instead of just like this left to right tipping. Maybe have some facing like front and back, you know, towards the start and towards the finish line. I don't know. I think there's room for variation. It's kind of a boring stage when the more that I talk about it out loud. Like, it's a pretty lazy design, I guess, but I still don't mind it. It's still a race which I enjoy, so A tier. Next up, we got Tail Tag. This is another tail grabbing one, so it's got the latency issues that can be really frustrating, not very entertaining. You know, this one, along with Jump Club, are like 2 of the games I don't see often at all. I don't really see Tail Tag very much, so that kind of makes it difficult to rate for me, but because it suffers all those issues, I think I would put it in D tier with Royal Fumble, but maybe like above Perfect Match? No. We'll put it below. It needs work. Maybe not the game itself, but the latency. I don't even know if latency is something they can fix. It might just be cursed forever. I don't know. I'm not knowledgeable about that stuff, but it's in D tier because of the frustrating tail mechanics and yeah. Next up, we got Team Tail Tag. It's the same as Tail Tag basically, but you're on a team. And that immediately gives it like less points than Tail Tag because you can do everything correct and you can have a tail at the end of the game and still lose because your team just dropped the ball. And again, I know I'm not rating based on wins and losses, but like, I mean, that's gotta go instant compared to its single player version basically. So I think I'm gonna put it below Royal Fumble, honestly, Because at least with Royal Fumble, you're on your own. You don't have anyone else to blame. Team Tail Tag, you can blame other people, and maybe should. But yeah, it's a tail grabbing one. It's not the best. I personally don't like the map very much compared to like just the original Tail Tag, but that's just me. That's my opinion. Whatever. Next up, Tiptoe. It's another race. It's not very standard like the other ones though. It's something you don't see until like round 4 most of the time, and you'll only have like about 15 players or so in it, and you just gotta try to go across the correct platforms to get to the end. This is a lot like DoorDash for me, where it's like, I feel like it's very RNG based, and it's not fully RNG based. Like you can see shaking platforms and you know that those are fake, but either way, most of the time you're paying more attention to the other players and trying not to get pushed off. And it's just not entertaining for me because most of it's just waiting for other people to bite the bullet and go forward and maybe risk falling, or just waiting for someone to get pushed forward. Either way, like for me, that's not that entertaining, so I think I'd put it in D, honestly. Like, I don't really care for it. I don't really like it that much, I'll be honest. Well, actually, now that I'm saying that, I think I have to put it on the same level as DoorDash, so we'll put it up in C tier. It's meh. I don't know if this would improve it, I'm not gonna claim it would, but I'd be very curious to see Tiptoe as one of like the starting races when you have 60 players, and not the way it is now. I would love to see like an expanded one where there's way more tiles, it's way bigger, but just have 60 of these stupid jelly bean people running at these tiles. And like, I'm sure that would be too chaotic, especially because when you have that part of the game where everyone's just standing and waiting for other people to advance, like with 60 people, that would be way too annoying. But I'd be curious to see it at the very least, which I don't think is gonna happen, but you know, that's just my own little curiosities there. All right, last but not least, we have the whirligig. This is a standard race that you can typically start out with, and I think I'll just put it next to Dizzy Heights, honestly. Like, Dizzy Heights and the whirligig are pretty equal to me, honestly. Like, I think I could flip these around and it wouldn't like make a difference in my head. They're pretty equal right there. But it's just another race with obstacles and variation, and it's fun. It's a good time. Oh, also, I do like with whirligig at the beginning, seeing all the people ragdoll from the swinging bars. That's usually pretty funny. But anyway, here's my tier list. We got Slime Climb at the top. Got Gate Crash and Hexagon and S. Got lots of races in A tier, and then Jump Showdown. We got a survival game, another race, and then a team game, Fall Ball. B tier, which is like the end of what I consider good entertainment. You know, survival team, race, and team. C tier is like the ones I just don't care for, but don't necessarily hate. We got Hoarders, DoorDash, and Tiptoe. And then D tier is the start of the ones that I like don't think are entertaining. Perfect Match, and then all the tail games. And then finally, in the bottom, F, we have Jinxed, because Jinxed is garbage and I hate it. So that is my tier list. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree, because I'm sure plenty of people will have their opinions. I'm actually surprised I have more in A tier than B tier. I was actually worried I'd fill B tier too much, but I don't know. I'll be curious to revisit this maybe when more stages come out, or even when I'm just feeling different. Because I'll be honest, I actually did this before and messed up my recording, and I think my tier list looked different last time. So something's already changed in my mind, I guess. But anyway, thank you guys so very much for watching. If you made it this far, I'm assuming you enjoyed the video, so consider leaving a like and subscribing to join the Small Crit Club. It's what I call my subscribers. If you don't understand, it has to do with Fire Emblem, but if you're here for Fall Guys, maybe I'll do more in the future. Let me know, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.